welcome to our weekly webcast. I'm here in beautiful Istanbul. Look at that view, isn't that gorgeous? Now, if this is the first time you're joining this webcast, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. So this is an AMA, like on Reddit, meaning ask me anything. You can ask me business questions, career questions, investing questions, any questions. And my goal is to humbly help you take your career to the next level. So without further ado, let's begin, and thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you're all doing well. I apologize for the late start today. YouTube was having issues. Quick reminder before I start talking about Oppenheimer and something more interesting, which is right here. This Saturday and Sunday, August 12th and 13th, we have the annual graduation and networking event for my gold and platinum MBA degree students. If you want more details and you're a gold or platinum member and you haven't received an email, please email support@harounventures.com. I'll be doing one-on-ones as well in person. Should be fun. Okay, let's talk about Oppenheimer. So I saw Oppenheimer last weekend. It was a great movie. It was a little bit depressing though, very depressing. And so I want to talk about something that's a more exciting story, which is this. Okay, so this has to do with Fairchild Semiconductor and the birth of the entire venture capital and computer and internet markets. So what happened here was in 1957, America was brokenhearted. They were brokenhearted because during the Cold War, Russia beat the United States to space with a rocket ship called Sputnik, which was the size of a basketball. And so the Kennedy administration in 1961, when JFK was elected, decided that the United States is going to beat Russia to the moon. And so what happened was, in order to do that, they had to fit 100,000 transistors into the fuselage of a rocket ship, okay, the very, very top parts. And it was very, very hard to do that. So what happened was they hired this company called Fairchild Semiconductor, okay? What happened was these people initially worked for this dude that was very abrasive at Shockley, and they quit, and they call themselves the Traitorous Eight. And the founder of Intel is in here as well, Gordon Moore up here, Eugene Kleiner is here as well, right there. And what they did was they figured out a way to fit 100,000 transistors into the fuselage, meaning the top part of the rocket, and beat the Russians to space. Now, it's something that changed the world. And what also came out of that was a lot of other semiconductor companies like Intel. This is an Intel chip here. Again, Gordon Moore, one of the co-founders of Intel, God bless him, is right there in the picture. And then what happened was, with all companies, it got big and bureaucratic. And so what happened was a lot of these people quit and started their own companies, and those were called Fairchildren. And Intel came out of that, and so did Nvidia, AMD, and many other companies. And while all of this happened, there was this cultural movement here in the San Francisco Bay Area where I live, to the extent that a lot of younger people were rebelling. And Berkeley University, where my son goes, there was tons of riots as well. And people were saying, you know, make love, not war, and all that stuff. And so what happened was, at Stanford University and at Berkeley and many universities across the country, students took over the student union building, the administration buildings. And they did it because a lot of government weapons research was actually done at universities. For example, at Stanford, there's something called the Stanford Research Institute, or SRI. And 50% of Stanford's R&D budget back in the 60s was highly classified military research. And so the students took over the student union building. And then Stanford eventually said, we're sorry. And they pushed SRI off campus. And then what happened was universities here on the West Coast started saying, okay, feel free to start your own companies and you can profit from it, even if you started at school. And so the semiconductor was kind of born at Berkeley, and a lot of software companies were born out of Stanford as well. And so this hippie movement kind of led to this, you know, sharing everything, open source type event. And so that's the genesis for how the venture capital market started here. in the San Francisco Bay Area. So a lot of it came down to this right here, the Traitorous 8, which would be a much more uplifting movie than Oppenheimer, of course. If you have questions about that, let me know, but let me get to your questions. Okay. All right. First up, Rudy wrote Virgin Galactic launching today. That's awesome. Thank you. And I read that right before I went live. That's why I threw this up on the wall with my tape as well, just to talk about that. I thought it was timely. Prashant, good to see you from India. Durs, great to see you as well. Again, I do apologize for the late start today. Next up, I've got Abdul Aziz, who wrote, hey, Chris, thank you for the wonderful MBA that I'm currently enrolled in. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. You wrote, given the program is not accredited, what advice can you give to win over the value of the degree? Thank you. Yeah. So I'm very conflicted. I've thought about making it accredited, and I could do it. And the problem with accreditation is if I do it, then I'd be excluding a lot of students. Also, the problem with traditional business schools is they don't teach you the most important concepts in business. They don't teach you how to present. They don't teach you how to network. They don't teach you how to get customers. They don't teach you how to manage your own money. They teach you how to manage other people's money. They don't teach you how a mortgage works, etc. And that was a crux of a book I wrote many years ago called 101 Crucial Lessons They Don't Teach in Business School. And so if I were to do accreditation, again, I've thought about it a lot. I would have to have a board of governors that might tell me what I can and cannot teach. And everything I teach is focused on helping you take your career or your company to the next level immediately. It's a practical MBA and not theoretical. Plus the price would have to go up a lot, but it's something I have thought about, to be intellectually honest. Yeah. But we do have a lot of students in my MBA program that have MBAs from top Ivy League universities. And they say they've learned more in 1 month in my MBA program than they did in 2 years at university. Plus they have to pay like $100,000 and be out of the workforce for 2 years. One of my amazing students, Vincente, he recently graduated from my MBA program, and he got a job at Goldman Sachs in investment banking in the same start class as Harvard MBA students at the associate level. Plus there's a 30-day 100% money back guarantee. Yeah. But I have thought about it, to be honest. Yeah. But I'm conflicted because I don't want to, like, you have to have an undergrad to get into an accredited university MBA program. And it's just not fair. But I have thought about it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Prashant wrote, how do you approach investors when it's a small company and any source to find venture capital? I've tried LinkedIn. Yeah. Well, the most important thing I can tell you when you're launching a company is don't go after venture capital firms initially. What I want you to do is go after high net worth investors because the sales cycle is quite short. And what you can do if you want is you can go to my website here, harounmba.com, scroll to the bottom, and you can download this book, which is called Networking At Customers, a Job, or Anything You Want. And it's a couple hundred pages that will tell you how to get a meeting with anybody and also how to raise capital. I teach about raising capital and networking in much more detail in my MBA degree program. But what you want to do is you want to find people that have something in common with you. Okay, and what I'm about to tell you will help you get one-on-one meetings, whether you're trying to raise money, get a job, or whatever. So what you do is you find people on LinkedIn that have something in common with you that perhaps work at a company you want to work at, like Google, for example. Or you find a high net worth investor on LinkedIn. Then you send a very short email, and the subject line should be this: hi, because everybody opens emails anyway. Then you say something like this: John, hope all is well. And then you find one or two things in common. I also went to the Toronto French School. I'm from Mississauga, and I live in the Bay Area, which is all true for me. Please let me know if you have time for a coffee or a quick Zoom call. And then what you do, and you don't say why you want to meet. Otherwise, and it's not unethical to not say why, to leave something out. If you say why you want to meet, then the problem might be that they might not respond. Not because they don't want to help you, because they feel bad they can't help you, right? So when you get that informational meeting, during the first 10 minutes, what I want you to do is I want you to talk about something you have in common with them. So before any meeting, I want you to go to the Twitter profile of the person you're about to meet with and find something you have in common with them. You know, if they love baseball or they follow baseball players, you can talk about that in your meetings. You want to bond before business for the first 10 minutes of every single meeting because you never get that second chance to make that first impression. And then what's going to happen, that was a baseball bat falling. Then what's going to happen is they're very politely going to say, why are we meeting? They won't say it like that. And then you explain to them that you're starting a company or you're interested in working in the tech sector at Google, for example, and then ask them just for advice. You got to bond first because business is about relationships first and product knowledge second. Your network is your net worth. And it's important for me to stress all this because every time you see a job opening online, you literally have a 1 in 250 chance of getting that job. So who ultimately gets that job? Well, it's somebody that knows someone at the company. So these are the new unwritten rules of commerce. So if you want to work at a certain company, don't just apply because you see a job opening online. Set up 20 or 30 or 40 informational meetings with people at that company. And if you think that's a lot of work, then ask yourself, how badly do you want that job? One meeting can change your life. And networking is the essence of business. Okay. Now, when you're raising capital, don't talk to VC firms initially. Talk to high net worth investors, again, because the sales cycle is quite short. Yeah. All right. And then next up, Darius wrote, hi, Chris. Hey. Lots of billionaires and scientists say formal education is worthless. What do you think about these quotes? I agree. You know, unless you want to be a doctor, for example. You know, and I proudly serve on a charity called Doctors Without Diplomas. That was a joke. That was awful dad humor. I'm so sorry. That was terrible. No, but I think if you're going to go to medical school, obviously you have to go to university. Same thing with law school. But I think for other careers, I don't think you need a university degree. In fact, enrollments in universities and applications are down 9% versus pre-pandemic levels. Also, many of the top companies in the world do not require a university degree to work there anymore. You know, companies like IBM, Wells Fargo, Google, Facebook, Apple, etc. And the list keeps on growing. So the problem with traditional universities is they don't teach you the most important things in life that are going to make you successful. It's theoretical stuff that you can't apply in the real world. So I recommend if somebody on this call is thinking of doing a university degree, be it undergraduate or graduate level, what I want you to first do is find people that have started companies or worked in industries you want to work in that have not done a university degree and see how they did it. Kind of follow their path, so to speak. And what I want you to also do is if you want to change industries or work in a certain industry, before going to university, I want you to set up literally 100 informational meetings and try to change careers or get that job, coveted job by networking. If you can't do it, then go to university. And if you think 100 meetings is a lot of work, it's not. Think about each meeting costing you $1,000. An MBA degree and a 4-year undergraduate degree from many universities costs $100,000. So think of all 100 meetings that you'll potentially be doing as saving you $1,000. Okay. But I really do believe that in my lifetime, only 50 universities are still going to be standing. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to say to themselves, I'm not going to go to university unless I can get into a great brand name, you know, like a Harvard, Oxford, whatever it is. So those schools are going to be harder to get into. But the other schools will be easier to get into to the extent that eventually they deplete their endowments. They go for a Hail Mary pass to try to raise money from alumni, and then they go belly up. I really do believe that online education is the future, which is why I bet my career on it. Yeah. All right. All right, give me 1 second here. All right, next. Hey, Manas, how are you? Manas wrote, good morning, my dear mentor. Chris, please. Hope all is well. How are you doing? And when will you be coming to India to visit the Haroun Education Ventures fan club? It's really big here, and I'm a tiny part of it. Yeah, I'd love to. I would absolutely love to. I promise you I will come within the next couple of years, and I'll do one of my weekly webcasts from Mumbai, yeah, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. If you want to find true happiness, go visit India. Yeah. All right. Next up, Masa wrote, do you encourage people to invest in Rwanda? Is Rwanda a safe country to invest in technology? Yeah, yeah. And I love that you asked that, because a week or so ago, I just got back from Rwanda. We built our first school, first of many there. And we even went to get water. And this is, by the way, this is a banana leaf. And so what happens is when you're carrying water on your head, you get a banana leaf and you roll it up, so it's easier to carry. Rwanda is a safe country to invest in technology, right? It has a very sound government. It's a democracy. I visited with actually the dean of the University of Rwanda as well when I was there, the technology department, computer science, and they're doing wonderful things there. Yeah. I don't see why not. I don't think that you should choose a company to invest in. I think you should choose a person. And the lines of distinction have been blurred, the borders, so to speak, since the pandemic. Anybody can start a company, whether you're in Magoo, Rwanda, or San Francisco, or anywhere. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in a certain country to start a company. Always invest in people first, country second. Yeah. And ideas are commodities, but execution is not. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Kevin wrote, good morning from Lakeland, Florida. Great to see you. Great to see you. And my heart goes out to our students in Hawaii. I'm praying for all of you in Maui. It's very sad what's happening. Yeah. Okay, next up, Melody, how are you? Melody wrote, hey, Chris, hope you're having an awesome week. I'm listening, but video editing at the same time. Thank you. And thank you so much for donating your courses to our school in Rwanda. God bless you for that. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Manas wrote, my mentor, I've never asked you, but what are your thoughts on the LGBTQ community and how do you see it? It's really difficult for it to thrive in the Middle East and Africa. Yeah. Times are changing. Times are changing. It's when right before I was born, my mom told me actually years ago, she said that before you were born, interracial marriage was illegal in 13 states in the United States. And things have changed. Things are getting better, but we have a long way to go still. A long way to go. I love everybody. God loves everybody the same. I think it's just a matter of time until there's acceptance all over the world. Every corner of the world for LGBTQ. And if anybody's going through hardships because of that, I'm so sorry. And if anybody is going through hardships because of that anywhere in the world, send me an email and I'll give you my MBA program for free at support@harounventures.com. I'm there for you. Okay. Times are changing. Yeah. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, my mentor, what are your thoughts on NVD? Is there competition for them? I think you mean NVIDIA, yeah. And what about AMD and competition for NVIDIA anytime soon? I'm bullish on the semiconductors, but they're not in a lot of space. Yeah. So AMD is a formidable competitor to NVIDIA. They actually are the second biggest player in the semiconductor market right now. I've held NVIDIA for a long time, actually starting to take profits on it. I started actually buying more back in November of last year when ChatGPT was first released. I feel conflicted because I am taking profits on NVIDIA right now. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's not about investing in CPUs, because CPUs can only do one thing at a time. Graphics card is the best place, market is the best place to invest in. And then there's also TPUs, which is something that Google invented. Yeah, I'm bullish on NVIDIA in the long run, but I have been selling. Yeah. Okay. That's the best way to invest in AI as well, is through semiconductors. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Secret Tuber wrote, good evening from India, sir. I've been in the food business in India, and if I want to expand, how can I destroy my competitor's business and take their business? What can I do to create shop brand value? Yeah. Well, the first thing is I would write a thorough business plan. Failing to plan is plan to fail. And in my MBA degree program in the third semester, I teach you how to write a business plan from scratch. It's the most important decision you'll make, starting a company. One of the most important decisions in life. And if you don't write a thorough business plan, even after you've started, then your chances of being successful go down materially. Now, what I would say is if you're competing against big companies, I don't care what industry you're in, you can run circles around the competition with customer service. Because as Jeff Bezos has said for decades now, a company's success in the long run is all predicated on good customer service. And profitability and customer service are 100% correlated in the long run. Yeah, so I would focus on customer service. Yeah. And for anybody out there running a company and competing with other firms that are much, much bigger, just tell your customers that you offer impeccable customer service compared to the competition. And 2 girls or 2 guys in a garage can change the world. It's the essence of commerce. And I talked about the Traders 8, how a handful of people change the world. Small groups of people can change the world always. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Ryan wrote, "Hi, Chris. I just enrolled in the Silver MBA program. Thank you. And I'll be going to Thailand to help my father's business. I look forward to the valuable lessons and see you next week in the 1-hour program. Thank you. Thank you." Yeah, and I think what you're referring to is every Thursday, once this call ends, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., what I do is I do a 1-hour office hour Zoom call with my Silver students. Yeah, and to get access to that, go to the very first lecture, please, of the curriculum. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, "How do you see Tesla without Elon? Like it's strange, but someday it'll happen, and there's no competition for it anytime soon. 30 years from now, where do you see Tesla?" Yeah. I never, ever invest in a company when the founder or the key salesperson / CEO leaves. So although Elon did not start Tesla himself, he's an unbelievable executor. There's a reason why SpaceX is successful and all of his other companies as well. So if Elon were to leave Tesla, I would not invest. Kind of like when Jeff Bezos has kind of stepped away from Amazon, I'm not as bullish now as I once was on the company. Yeah. So 30 years from now, where do I see Tesla? It will still be a dominant player, kind of like the big 3 autos longer term. But without Elon, I don't think it's going to be as successful. Yeah. And one of the reasons why Tesla underperformed last year, especially, in the second half of last year, was because Elon took his eye off the ball and he was focused more on Twitter, or X as he calls it now. And whenever a founder or a prominent CEO, takes up a hobby, be it buying Twitter or, buying a sports team, usually short sellers come after the company. Yeah. All right. Okay, next up, Secret Tuber wrote, "How will your MBA program help me in my own business management, or can it help me get a job in investment banking if I have a finance degree?" Yeah. So I have students that have gone to Wall Street. I have one in particular, Vincente, who got a job at Goldman Sachs from my MBA degree program at the associate start level. So I teach you in the program how to network on steroids. I teach you how to change careers. And if you don't get a 10x return on my MBA within the first 30 days, please ask for your money back. You get 100% of your money back. Yeah, I teach you how to network. In terms of starting a company, in the 3rd semester, I have what's called the Venture Capital Bootcamp, where I teach you how to start a company based on my success, humbly, starting companies and working in venture capital. And I provide you with all the tools and templates that you need to take your company or your career to the next level. And the MBA program is also good for people that work in big companies, because I also teach you how to launch new products, new departments, etc. And I'm constantly adding stuff to the MBA program as well. I'm really focused on adding technology stuff now. Recently I added a very comprehensive artificial intelligence elective. I also added an Excel course and how to program in Excel. And I'm working very hard right now to add, before the end of this year, a Python course as well. And I'm partnering with Luca Anderson, who is brilliant, and he's going to be staying with me again this fall. He's going to fly in again from Serbia to help me make that course. Yeah. Okay, give me 1 second. But a lot of people want to work in investment banking, but I caution you all, make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into. People want to work in banking because they can make more money than their friends. But the harsh reality is that you make the same amount as your friends do per hour, but you work 100 hours per week. Your health suffers as well. So just make sure you understand why you want to go into investment banking before trying to pursue it. Yeah. And for anybody that's not sure what you want to do career-wise, what I recommend is think about getting an origination job first. And what that means is this. You create the product. If you hate creating the product, that's okay, because you can move on to sell the product. And I'll give you examples. So an origination job is working maybe at Google in R&D, okay, as an engineer. If you hate the engineering side of it, you understand it though, because you worked in that market for a while, and you can move on to sell it, market it, do operations, manage it, etc. The same thing in the consulting market. You're creating corporate strategy. If you hate it, that's okay. You've done it for a year or two. You can move on and work on sales of a corporate strategy, operations, management, etc., execution. And the same thing with investment banking. So investment banking is an origination job as well. You're creating the M&A product or the IPO product before the company goes public. And if you don't like doing that in finance, then that's okay, because you know how to make the product. It's easier to get a job selling the product, trading the product, whatever it might be. Investing in the product, I should say, not trading. Okay. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, I want to talk about raising capital. Do tech folks like Sam Altman and Steve Jobs need to put their own money or raise OPM in different rounds? OPM standing for other people's money. Yeah. So I always recommend using other people's money. Okay. And don't ever get a loan, though, to start a company, because if you get a loan from a bank is chicken. They don't take risks, right? And if they don't get a return on their investment pretty quickly, within a couple of years or so, they can take your company away. That's why I recommend selling minority stakes in your company to high net worth investors initially, right? So they get equity in the company. Yeah. And that's the essence of Silicon Valley. That's how it works here. A lot of people will get high net worth investors called angel investors to invest in their company. I'm sure Sam Altman did that as well. And then after a while, they'll get venture capital firms as well as large corporates to invest. So with Sam Altman, a lot of it was from Elon Musk who invested. Yeah. And then eventually Microsoft and venture capital firms were kicking the tires too. Okay. And the same thing with Steve Jobs as well. Yeah. He had a lot of VC backing. Yeah. Okay. Manas wrote, some people say, what backs Bitcoin? I give an argument, what backs dollar, what backs rupee or pound? What are your thoughts? Yeah. Yeah. So the United States dollar is backed by the full faith and confidence of the United States government. And the United States government is probably the last company, so to speak, that will go belly up. Now, the United States used to be backed by silver, and then it was backed by gold. And then in 1972, Richard Nixon, remember that guy? I'm not a criminal. He ended up saying, we're no longer backing the US dollar with gold. We're backing it with the full faith and credit of the US government. The same thing with the Indian rupee, right? You're investing in the government. The problem with relying on governments is that you have no control in terms of supply of the rupee or the dollar. They can print tons of it, and cash is trash. It's one of the worst investments. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, I think it's probably a more sound investment longer term than traditional fiat or cash-based currency. And the reason I say that is because there's a dearth or a limit on supply of the number of Bitcoins that will ever be created. Only 21 million Bitcoin will ever be created, right? There's no end in sight for how many dollars can be printed or rupees can be printed. But by the year 2140, there will be no more than 21 million Bitcoin. So the bottom line is, with any investment class, be it currencies, cryptos, stocks, resources, you always want to look at the underlying supply. Yeah. And when you're doing due diligence on a company and looking to invest, whenever you look at what the driver is, if you can't figure out what the driver is to make the company do well or poorly in the long run, think about two basic things. Number one, is pricing going up? And number two, is volume going up? If pricing is going up and volume going up, for most companies, especially commodity industrial companies, it's usually a good investment in the long run. Okay. All right, next up, T. Hey, T. T wrote, hey, Chris, I'm having a lunch with the fund marketing and business development team that I want to internally transfer to. What should I do to prepare and tell them? Please give me advice. Yeah, and I've switched departments too. in several companies I've worked at, including Goldman Sachs. Yeah. It's really hard to change departments in a big company. You have to, first of all, find a mentor in the other department to pull, right? To basically say, I want you to come to my team, and I'm going to take a risk when it comes to politics. And you also have to get your boss on your current team you're on to be willing to let you go as well, meaning go to the other department. If you're going to do that, what I recommend doing is have a backup plan just in case, right? So if a headhunter ever calls you, always take headhunter meetings just in case. You got to have a plan B in case you can't change departments and your boss finds out and gets upset about it. Yeah. But in terms of selling yourself to other departments, I would do it confidentially first in one-on-one meetings to see if you can do it. I would also give a lot of one-page write-ups on new corporate strategy or product ideas during that lunch meeting with that other marketing or investment department. And in my MBA program, the first semester in the personal growth portion of the program, I provide you with 12 templates to create that will impress any manager in any department of any company. Yeah. It's all preemptive, like Sun Tzu in The Art of War. Every battle is won before it's been fought. Okay, and if you have additional follow-ups, please let me know. Okay, next up, Copyright Claim wrote, why did the baker's wife divorce him? Because she caught him giving away to, okay, right. I don't know why a baker's dozen is 13. I never understood that. Okay. All right, next up we got Liesel who wrote, hey Chris, do you have a recommendation for platforms for developing and hosting courses and e-learning content? Yeah. So don't develop your own platform if you want to sell courses. The first place to go to sell online is Udemy. Udemy is the dominant player in the marketplace. Don't waste your time on other platforms because there's no critical mass anywhere except for Udemy. Now, if you want to have your own courses on your own website, what I recommend doing and what I do is I use Teachable. So you can go to teachable.com to learn more, and it's free to use. I'm not sponsored by them or anybody, please. It's free to use, and then you pay a little bit more if you want, higher tier offerings, like make it look like it's your website versus theirs, etc. Yeah. So number one, Udemy, and then if you want to host stuff on your own website, Teachable. Do not reinvent the wheel, though. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, a Google user 07 wrote, Sir, Chris, please. I don't know anything about business, but I wanted to know if two people both own 50% equity in a company and someone invests money for 10%, will both people give away 5% or will one give away a 10%? Yeah. So the way it works is when you raise money in venture capital or from high net worth investors, every time you raise more money, the earlier investors usually have what's called a pro rata right to invest more, so they still own the same percent of the company. But the reality is, when a person starts a company, they own 100% of the company, and let's say that they have a high net worth investor invest, they give away 10% of the company. Now they own 90. Then they get a venture capital firm to invest, and maybe they own 7. These are just examples. And eventually, when the company goes public, they usually own well under 15% of the company, right? And it's hard to give up equity in your company, but people don't mind doing it because your net worth is much, much higher using other people's money. As the share price goes up materially, although you only own 15% of the company by the time it goes public, for example, you're worth a lot more. Yeah. And the good thing about equity is that, unlike debt, if things don't work out equity-wise, it doesn't mean the company goes belly up. You can always restructure. When you get a loan from a bank, they can just take everything. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question I've got here is Pranav wrote, what do you think about corporate raids right now? Yeah. So when it comes to private equity, et cetera. Yeah. So I believe in the free markets. I believe if a company is underperforming and their share price is down a lot, I believe that, blood in the water indicates that private equity firms can come in and turn it around. It's what makes markets efficient. Survival of the fittest, as harsh as that may sound. Yeah. And if you want to learn more about that, I recommend watching a movie called Other People's Money, with Danny DeVito. It's about the private equity industry. It's fascinating. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, hey, Will, how are you, man? Will wrote, good morning, Chris. I just saw your Excel trailer course. It's really awesome. Thank you. I was wondering if this Excel course is in the same, in the Silver MBA. Yeah. All my tech electives are included in my MBA programs. If you sign up for my Silver MBA degree program, you get every course I'm ever going to make for free forever. Yeah. And I'm adding a lot more tech stuff. As I mentioned earlier, I'm adding Python later this year as well. Okay. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Okay. All right, next up, Abdulaziz wrote, thank you, Chris, you're most welcome. As a businessman and teacher, how can a business be productive? And what minimalist productivity apps do you use or would you recommend? Yeah. So I don't have any full-time employees. I use a lot of software automation to help me scale my business. So whenever you start a company, always think about inventory. And I don't believe in investing in companies with inventory. So what I do is what I create are courses where I don't have inventory issues. I outsource everything. I outsource the infrastructure to Teachable. I outsource all of my of the video production for my commercials to Adad Warda and others. I outsource my marketing team to Cox Creative Media in Canada, which is great. And everything else is automated. You know, whenever you set up a meeting with me, we use Calendly and then Zoom. There's a lot of software automation that goes on behind the scenes. I also use ActiveCampaign a lot in terms of email marketing, etc. Yeah. All right. And then next up, Caroline wrote, hey, Chris. Hey, Caroline. We all know how brilliant a teacher you are. Amazing. No, thank you. You wrote amazing financial guru and most importantly, a very generous and humble person. Thank you. I'm a good actor. You wrote, I'm curious to know if there's anything you're not good at. Yeah. I'm not good at stuff I'm not passionate about. And I think that goes for everybody. Like there's no way you can be productive and put your dent in the universe doing something you don't enjoy. You have to do what you love. And for those of you out there that haven't found your passion yet, what I recommend thinking about is this. Let's say that I give you 30 days off. In the next 30 days, you can't go to school, you can't work, you cannot travel. What are you going to do with your time? Whatever your answer is, that's your passion, your raison d'etre, your purpose, and you have to run after that with all your heart and don't give a damn what anybody else thinks. So I'm not good at stuff I'm not passionate about. Also, character flaws for me, I work really hard and sometimes I burn out and I really have to force myself to take time off. Yeah. So aside from teaching, I spend all my time with Christine and my 3 boys, but I do burn out every now and then. Yeah. I definitely do push myself a little bit too hard at times. Yeah. Okay. But I love doing what I'm doing. Okay, next up, Secret Tuber wrote, do you know how I can read your mind? Think of your favorite Indian dish. It's dosa. It is. Yes, it's the best food you'll ever eat. For those of you that have not tried dosa, when you go to an Indian restaurant, even if it's not on the menu, just ask for dosa. Trust, it's the best food you'll ever eat. It's so good. And you are right. You are reading my mind. Okay. All right, next up, Manas wrote, the U.S. debt interest for 2023 is now $1 trillion. Which is 1/3 of the India economy. How will the United States pay that debt, owing to the fact that by 2050, this debt will be $50 trillion and 75% will be interest on the debt. Yeah, I don't think the United States is going to continue spending like they've been. You know, the past couple of years have been very difficult for everybody because of the pandemic. Yeah, so I think that you're going to see some aggressive budget cuts coming from the next administration. All right, but I'm amazed. I'm looking at China's growth. China's growth is decelerating big time. They've got deflation there, and what amazes me is how U.S. investors don't seem to care. It's fascinating. Yeah, and what we're seeing in the United States, you know, given the fact that the Nasdaq had its best start to the year since the 1980s, is we're seeing a wealth effect. You know, as the market goes up, it's amazing. As the market goes up, everybody feels richer, and so they keep spending. And 2/3 of the United States economy is consumer spending. It's not big business. Yeah. We certainly are going to have a soft landing. All right. Next up, Nintendo. So funny, your name is Nintendo. I've got this here. It's a prop for one of my courses. Nintendo wrote, do you have any advice on how to write a professional equity research report and perhaps even sell it? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So part of my MBA degree program, I have a template. And what I'll do is I'll open up and show it to you here, which is based on my work experience, having worked at Goldman Sachs, worked in the hedge fund industry, working in venture capital. And this template I'm going to show you will help you understand every major aspect of a company and create professional reports. Okay. And as this loads, it takes a second here. There's no macros in it, but it's 30 megabyte file size. It's pretty big. So there's 3 categories in the 100-step investment process. There's qualitative research, quantitative, and then there's financial. And students of my MBA program get this for free. So I ask you 700 or 800 questions in this. And then based on your answers, what happens is there's 3 outputs from this. Number 1, an executive summary. So this is just dummy data here. And this here is Apple, for example. When you print it, you've got a 1-pager with fundamentals, valuation, and technicals on it. The second of 3 outputs from this is a 150-page detailed equity research report. And the third thing that comes out of this is a dashboard with many charts. And so I go through every single aspect of the company here in all these steps. And on every single page here of all 100 tabs, you can click to watch a YouTube video on that. Yeah. So it's not just about quantitative stuff like how to value a company and forecast financials. There's also a lot of qualitative stuff in here as well. Yeah. Okay. And in my MBA program, I pride myself on providing you with all the tools and templates that you need to take your career to the next level or your money back. All right. Now, if you're going to sell investment research, I recommend talking to a lawyer first. Okay. Register the company name. You'll notice that I don't tell people what stocks to buy. I want you all to decide for yourself. But you need to get a lawyer involved, and you need to add like something to the bottom of your email saying these are disclosures. Yeah, just be careful. Okay. All right. Next up, what are your thoughts on BRICS? Yeah, in an upcoming meeting. Yeah, BRICS, plural this time I'm seeing. So Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I guess South Africa now. Yeah. I mean, they're still emerging markets. I'm probably a little bit less bullish on China right now. I'm always bullish on Brazil, though, especially since Lula is now the political leader again. He's very investor friendly. And they've got just a wealth of commodities as well. I've done a lot of investing in Brazil. I think India is going to be the largest economy in the world one day. I really do. I think it's going to pass the United States within a couple decades. In terms of Russia, never a fan. Yeah, never a fan. Yeah, I will never invest in a Russian company. I've gotten burned in the past when it comes to accounting. Yeah. But Brazil is a great market to invest in longer term. And Brazil is so massive. Get this. The north of Brazil is closer to Canada than it is to the southern point of Brazil. The east coast of Brazil is closer to Africa than it is to the west coast of Brazil. It's a massive economy which with a wealth of natural resources as well. I'm always bullish on Brazil. Okay, next up, Manas wrote here, and when it comes to South Africa, I'm a little bit conflicted right now, just given the fact that they've been partnering with Russia and China with war drills in Southeast Asia. Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I'm not an expert in that area, though. Okay, give me a second here. Next up, Manas wrote, China is suffering from deflation, but growth is still evident. It's crazy how they grow, but their exports have gone down. Is it a sign of a recession? I think they're in a recession, regardless of the statistics that come out. I think they are. Now, what China is trying to do longer term is they're really trying to focus on building up their domestic economy so that they're not as reliant on the United States for exports. Yeah. Yeah. But growth is certainly slowing there. Okay. Rose wrote, I love the color grading on Oppenheimer. Did you watch the Barbie movie, Chris? Because I know she's your favorite businesswoman. Yeah. So yeah, Reese Witherspoon is. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to go with my wife to see it. Oppenheimer was great, but the only problem with the movie, to be objective and intellectually honest, is that the sound quality was not that good, and I don't think he mic'd up his actors, Christopher Nolan. Right? It's really hard to hear the sound, especially in the first 15 minutes of the movie. I'll probably rent it when it comes out on on Apple TV eventually, and I'll probably turn on closed captions. Yeah. So, but the color grading was amazing. It was really well done. Yeah. Okay, next up, Manas wrote, "What happened to Ukraine's stock market? Maybe someone made a ton of money with puts on their stocks. It's strange but true." Yeah, I have no idea what's happened there. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we got Alex P. from Utah. Good to see you. You wrote, "Chris, do you think the major investment banks are doing worse or better in the United States as U.S. recession goes on?" I'm asking because I have an interview with one of them today. Well, best of luck with your interview. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're going to recession now. It doesn't. Yeah, so technically the definition of recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth year over year. It does not look like we're going to recession anymore. Yeah. Best of luck with your interview. What I recommend doing for anybody that has a job interview, set up Google Alerts. Go to alerts.google.com and enter in the company name so you can automatically get email alerts whenever there's breaking news on the company. Yeah. Best of luck with the interview. Yeah. Okay, Pranav wrote, "What do you think about the movie American Psycho?" Yeah, with Christian Bale. I saw it. Probably one of my less favorite finance-oriented movies. It was a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah. All right. I don't really like violent movies. Okay, next up, Manas wrote, "Thank you for everything, my mentor. God bless you all forever and ever and ever. God bless you more, brother." You wrote, "See you next week and forever, and eat some dosa." Actually, you wrote paper dosa and masala dosa, and maybe idli. Try that. Thank you. I've never heard of idli, but I will try that. I'll take a little screen print. Thank you. And thank you for the emoji, and God bless you. Okay. All right. Next up, I've got a Google user, a 23. Or Google user 7 wrote, "I wanted to learn about the basics of business, like what is venture capital and other stuff. Is there any way I can learn about business?" Yeah, it's the essence of what I do. My MBA degree program, you can go to harounmba.com to learn more about it. I cover all of that in a lot of detail, including venture capital in a lot of detail in my MBA degree program. Yeah. And if you have specific questions, you can always ask me now and I can teach you now. It's fun for me. Okay, and when I used to do these calls, and I'm now in my 6th year of doing these calls, initially, I wouldn't stop the call until there's no more questions. And my record was 12 hours without leaving this room, without getting up once. And that was back October 31st, 2019, I think. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, hey, Fred Mendoza. It's been a while, brother. I hope you're doing well, man. I miss you. You wrote, "Hi, Professor Chris. Sorry I couldn't make it to the graduation ceremony." All good, man. All good. And Fred, thank you so much for the last graduation ceremony, or last time I saw you in December 18th, 2021, on that video you made for me with you posing with The Rock. Yeah. And in front of the Lincoln Memorial. I appreciate that as well. Good to see you. Okay, next up, Nintendo wrote, "About the Russian thing. I think what is concerning is that Russia and Belarus and the Wagner Group are conducting military training by the Polish border." Oh, yeah. I don't, there's no way, absolutely no way that Russia would invade Poland. I don't think so. And I'm shocked at how tiny the Russian economy is. It's $2.1 trillion economy. It's the same size as Canada. Imagine Canada trying to invade countries. First of all, it wouldn't happen. But I don't think Russia's economy is going to stay afloat in the long run if they continue to do this. And let me actually show you the best website on the planet for visualizing anything is called Visual Capitalist. And there's an amazing chart I want to show you. Let me go here. I'll do a search. Capitalist. Here it is. Okay, this infographic is unbelievable. Okay, and this will really put into context just how small Russia is. Okay, so here's a global economy. It's $105 trillion. That means how much money each country makes per year, meaning GDP. And then right here is the United States. I'm going to get my face off in the corner here so I can show you Russia compared to everybody else. Give me a second, please. Okay, there we go. All right, so you got Russia, which is $2.1 trillion, right? It acts like it's the largest country in the world, or one of the largest. It's so tiny and insignificant compared to the way it was when USSR was all, one big massive country. But look at this. Canada is just as big as Russia. India is bigger than Russia. I think India is going to be the largest economy in the world one day. China is massive. I don't think, and so the Polish economy is 749 billion. I don't think that Russia can afford to continue to spend trillions of dollars on its military, given the size of the country. It's a joke. Yeah. As you all know, I believe in democracy. Okay. All right. Next up, Justin wrote, with the rise of more advanced artificial intelligence tools rising, where do you see the role of auditors, chartered accountants, financial analysts in the industry? I see it becoming an auditing technique. Yeah. I think that the company to really pay attention to when it comes to financial services and AI is Bloomberg. So Bloomberg has over for those of you not familiar with Bloomberg, it's a financial services technology company that a lot of Wall Street and investment firms globally use. They've got more than 40 years of financial data that they're now mining as part of what's called Bloomberg GPT. And it's a game changer. And it's going to help portfolio managers with risk management, portfolio construction, et cetera. And I think when it comes to auditing and the financial services sector in general, I think that auditors are going to be using Bloomberg GPT as well in the future, to look for red flags. For those of you that want to understand what are red flags or do forensic accounting, there's a great book I recommend reading called Financial Shenanigans by Howard Schillet. Yeah. All right. And the last question for today I've got is from Ryan, who wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hey, man. Have you ever been cheated on in business? And if so, what are the 2020 hindsights you've learned?" I've heard there's a lot of unethical business people, you wrote, in Thailand. I've never heard that yet. So for me, when you're younger, when your gut tells you, whether it's a personal relationship or business relationship, whatever, your gut tells you not to trust somebody, and then you trust them, and then you get screwed over. And then you're like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Go with your gut. When you're interviewing people to hire or interviewing to work at a company, for example, always go with your gut. It's so hard for me to explain, but if your gut tells you not to trust somebody, your gut is right, almost always. And you all have examples of this, I'm sure, in life in hindsight. And I worked at a big hedge fund years ago called Citadel. And when I was there, they hired the hedge fund, which was great. They hired 25-year CIA and FBI veterans, people that had resigned from working for the government. And these CIA and FBI veterans trained us on how to tell if somebody is lying. And they gave us 4 main tips. And this doesn't always work, please. But I'm going to tell you what those 4 tips are to tell if somebody is lying. Okay. Number 1. Do they ramble on and on and on to a simple question? Kind of like a kid. Did you steal a cookie from the cookie jar? No, I couldn't. How could I get over there? I mean, the ladder is, I need a ladder to get up there, and I put the ladder back yesterday. So number 1, they ramble. Okay. Number 2, they break eye contact. Okay. Now, for me, my demeanor And you got to make sure you understand people's demeanors. For me, I look down a lot, just the way I am. But for a lot of people, if they look away when answering a simple question, that can mean that they're lying. Okay, so number one, rambling. Number two, breaking eye contact. Number three, touching their face. Unless people usually do that. But quite often when people are lying, they touch their face. And the fourth thing, okay, and if you have 2, 3, or 4 of these to be accurate, then somebody might be lying. It's not 100% accurate. Okay. The fourth thing is if they shake their foot a bit, right? As long as they don't drink too much caffeine. Yeah. And the reason why we were trained on this is to tell if, CEOs are lying. And the way to know that CEOs are lying is when they move their lips. Sorry, that was off. Yeah. But anyway, those are 4 tips I learned from ex-CIA and FBI veterans on how to tell if somebody is lying. They're not always right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, wow. A bunch more questions came through. Yeah, keep typing your questions if you want. You've got me until 10. Okay. Next up, Abdulaziz wrote, thanks, Chris, you're most welcome. A small startup has 4 owners, meaning directors, you wrote. 2 of them are more active, giving more effort, where the other 2 are a bit passive. What advice in terms of sharing benefits and profits? Yeah. Before starting any company in a partnership, I recommend getting a lawyer to draft up who owns what in the company and what their roles are, and also have a clause whereby if 3 of the 4 people want to vote one person out, they can do so. But make sure everything is clearly documented. Yeah, partnerships are hard, man. Really, really hard. Yeah, so that's what I would say. Yeah. Yeah. But if one of the 4 people put in a lot more money than the others in the startup, then that person should own more of the company. Hopefully I answer your question. If it didn't, just let me know, please. Okay. But I believe in a meritocracy. You eat what you kill. I've always believed in that. I worked in the hedge fund industry, venture capital industry, Wall Street, Goldman, etc. I don't believe in a massive base salary. I believe in paying people unlimited bonuses if they perform well. You eat what you kill. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Fred wrote, we need more book recommendations, Professor Chris. Gosh, I don't really have any great new ones to recommend. If you want, you can subscribe to a service called Blinkist, Blink IST. I used to subscribe to it. It's like $99 a year, and you can get 10-minute summaries of books that's Audible based. It's an app, Blinkist. My son Andrew, he's now reading. He's asked me for books every day now. He's like a sponge, and so the book he's reading right now is Dale Carnegie's masterpiece called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Please read that, everybody. It's the best business book ever created. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah. And without that book, I don't think that there would be a gazillion incredibly successful, self-help professionals out there, like Tony Robbins, who I love. Yeah. So the grandfather of the self-help industry is Dale Carnegie. And I took a course on public speaking from Dale Carnegie when I was 19. And so did Warren Buffett when he was 19. That's the only thing I have in common with him. Well, we also went to Columbia. He's worth way more than I am. But Warren Buffett, on his office wall, does not have his degree from Columbia. He's got his certificate of completion from the Dale Carnegie course. Start by reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And after you finish that one, Dale Carnegie has another amazing book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And it's about living in day-tight compartments. And that will make more sense to you once you read the book, which I recommend, called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Yeah. Aside from that, I don't really have any other recommendations. I am publishing a book with McGraw-Hill, though. It's coming out in January. So McGraw-Hill has this Essentials series. You can buy it at airports, etc. And this is Presentation Essentials. I did not write this, but I've got a book called Finance Essentials, which is coming out in January. I've been working on it all year long in my spare time, but I hope you enjoy it. Again, it comes out in this January, and once it's released, I'll tell you guys more information on it. Yeah. Okay, and thank you, McGraw-Hill, for your patience with me switching editors and all that stuff. Thank you. Okay. All right. Next question is from a Google user 07 wrote, can I take an entire MBA 1 course on Udemy to learn about business basics? Yeah, absolutely. It's a 7.5-hour course sold, I think, on Udemy and other platforms. It sold over 500,000 units since I released it. But it's basically just a high-level overview of business. Yeah. Which I recorded in like 10 hours one day. And the reason why I recorded that was, so just to let you guys know a bit about me. I love doing charity work. I love to help those that are underprivileged. And when I worked in venture capital, what I did was I actually, during the weekends and evenings, I used to teach at MBA level universities and undergraduate schools. But I also taught at charities. And I'm going to show you something that changed my life. So what I did when I was working in VC, in January of, I think it was 2016, what I did was I created this 1-day course where I used to be on the board of the Limo Foundation. And this 1-day course, I created it, here it is here. I created it for these students in East Palo Alto, where the high school graduation rate is 40%, and most of these kids have deadbeat fathers. But I created a 1-day course for them, and I called it an entire MBA in 1 day. And then it was amazing. I loved it, and I loved helping these students. They were great. I gave them degrees as well. And then what I did was, that was on a Saturday back in 2016. Then on the Sunday, what I did was I set up a camera at home, and I just recorded myself teaching. It was like 10 hours or something. And then I threw it up on Udemy just because I wanted to help people. It wasn't about making money. If you chase money, you lose your dreams and your money. But I want to help people. So I threw it up on Udemy, and then Business Insider wrote about it, which got 100,000 views or something. It was crazy. And that course is, I get made like about close to 6 figures I'm so sorry for saying that, in February of 2016. And I didn't do it to make money, but that's the genesis or the essence of my MBA degree program. It all came from that, trying to help people. And so please try to make your business passion, something about helping people. We're here to serve others. If you help people, enhance their lives with your product or service, it makes you want to go to bed every day. Yeah. So, and as you all know, I mentioned money. I donate a ton of money for scholarships, building schools, etc. It's why I do what I do. It's my purpose. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for sharing that financial detail. You usually don't do that. Okay. Next up, Pranav wrote, what do you think about the Libertarian Party? Yeah. I started reading Ayn Rand. So I think I might be a libertarian. I'm not sure. So a libertarian is somebody that believes in very little government, like Reaganomics to the extreme. Yeah, I don't know who leads the Libertarian Party, but I think I personally might be a libertarian. And so is Peter Thiel. Yeah. Okay, but in terms of, do I vote Republican or Democrat? It all depends on who the person is. It all depends. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Laraxek, who's Carol. Hey, Carol, how are you? Who's in my MBA program, started in May. And my next Gold and Platinum program will start, I think, next January. Yeah. I'm taking the next 6 months now to work day and night to create more tech electives, including Python. Yeah. So Carol wrote here, hey, Chris, I was wondering, what option would you recommend for me? Should I use my nickname account for creating content online, like YouTube articles, etc., or my real name? Thanks. I'd use your real name, because you are the brand. The brand is you. And what I would do is I would think about repurposing content, which is what I did when I got started in this business. So what I did was I wrote an article every week for about 2 years, and I posted that article on LinkedIn. And then what I did was I repurposed all of that content, right, using my name. I repurposed all that content into a book. And Forbes humbly called this book one of 6 books every entrepreneur needs to read right now. And Obama's publisher called me to try to publish this book, and I said no. Long story why, they would own all the content. But you got to think about repurposing the content as well. And if you want a template for the book, you can always go to my website, harounmba.com/writebook, all lowercase, writebook. And there's a template, 6 inches by 9 inches. And when you think about creating social media content, what I want you to do is I want you to think like Nintendo. So Nintendo is the oldest tech company in the world. And there's a reason why they're still around today, because they believe in repurposing content. What does that mean? Well, the older 8-bit and 16-bit Mario games are repurposed and re-released on newer platforms like the Switch, for example. And Switch 2 is apparently coming out second half of next year. So you got to think like Nintendo and repurpose your content. And so you'll notice that based on the questions that are asked in this weekly call, we repurpose this content, right? There's nothing left in the carcass by the time we're done with this call. And so this call is also a podcast. This call is also the essence of my Instagram videos. It's also what I post to LinkedIn, and it's also my TikToks, right? So it's a smart way to create content. I would use your name and repurpose content. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Next up, Pranav wrote, cities or suburbs? Definitely suburbs. I think cities are in secular decline. I think one of the worst things you can do is invest in real estate in cities. Because as the pandemic has shown us, you don't really need to go to an office building to work. I think cities are in secular decline. And it breaks my heart to see what's happened with San Francisco. You know, it's not just because of the pandemic. There's other issues as well. Crime, and I'm not going to go there. But, you know, if the internet was invented before cities, would we still have cities? Probably not as much. Think about it. It's ridiculous. You know, you get up, you drive an hour to get to work, an hour back. That's 2 hours of your awake time. It destroys your health, destroys the environment, destroys your social life. You could be spending more time with your kids. It just doesn't make any sense. So definitely suburbs. I think a great investment longer term is farmland. I have been a big buyer of farmland over the years, especially in Texas. And when I buy land in Texas, I don't buy the mineral rights. So if oil is found on some of the land I own in Texas, I don't get it. Somebody else does. Yeah. Not a fan of cities. Okay. All right. Manas wrote, why do you trust Ripple, and will it make a difference? Yeah, it's one of the 4 cryptos that I've publicly disclosed that I've invested in. Of course, there's lots of risks as well. It's mainly for the financial services industry. The other 3 that I own and I've disclosed publicly for years are, you know, Bitcoin, like everybody else, Ethereum, Litecoin, which is like Bitcoin's little brother, and Ripple. Yeah, there are risks though. Yeah. I can't believe that they won that lawsuit. I really can't believe it. I still think the United States government is going to regulate. I mean, the SEC will regulate cryptocurrencies eventually. Yeah. All right. And the last question I see here is Abdulaziz wrote, hey, Chris, what business advice can you give to somebody transitioning from employment into consultancy services? Yeah. Yeah. So there's over 100,000 consulting firms in the United States. It's a very fragmented industry. I think it's a great market to be in if you're not sure what you want to do with your life. I started working in consulting out of undergrad. I spent 4 years at Accenture. And the great thing about it was that if I hated what I was doing there, you know, it was okay, because I knew 6 months down the road, I would be on a different client site, on a different engagement. Yeah. Yeah. The only problem with consulting is that it's not scalable. And there's a reason why companies like Accenture, ticker ACN, trade at much lower price to revenue multiples than software companies. It's not scalable. It's kind of like my business model. You know, I'm a kind of a mixture of Accenture meets, I don't know, Oracle, because my gold and platinum business I have, MBA program, is not really scalable. There's only so much for me to go around. But silver is like my Oracle, right? It's very scalable. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right, next up, Richard wrote, expand once more on why Haroun MBA is not accredited. when the MBA badge and the knowledge are both important for branding as you expertly preach. Yeah. Yeah. So if I were to do accreditation, and again, it's something I have thought about, I'd have to have a board of governors that can tell me what I can and cannot teach. Also, the fees will be a lot higher. Believe me, I've thought about it, especially because I want to build, 1,000 schools in my lifetime in Africa. Each school is going to cost $100,000 to make. So I look at a company like Quantic, okay, and I'll talk about that. Yeah, so Quantic is accredited, quantic.edu, and they've got 17 million students paying $13,000 for, a 14-month MBA. So that's over $100 million, well over $100 million in revenue. And so for me, if I want to build 1,000 schools in Africa at $1,000 each, that's $100 million. So I've thought about it. But if I were to go down that path of doing accreditation, then I would give up control of what I can and can't teach, right? So there's a reason why, a lot of these universities that are accredited cost a fortune, right? The fees are high for accreditation, right? Like in order to apply just to be accredited, I got to pay like 30 grand. And I've looked into it. I've done a ton of research on it. Also, I don't want to be teaching theoretical crap. I want to teach what I want to teach. I want to teach what's going to help you take your career to the next level at an affordable rate as well. I could do it. I could do accredited, but the fees would have to go up materially. Yeah, so I guess I'll ask all of you. My MBA program, my silver MBA program is $499. If I made it accredited, would you pay $9,000? Answer it, please. I'd love the feedback. Again, my MBA program, the silver one right now, it's not accredited, which means it's affordable for anybody. It's $499. If I made my silver MBA accredited and charged $9,000, would you buy it? Let me know. I'm curious. Yeah. Okay. All right. Manas wrote, 2020 was a boot Bitcoin. 2021 was about NFTs. Well, I haven't heard that term in a while. 2022 is about the metaverse. And then AI is 2024. Yeah. But AI is real, right? So most cryptos are an absolute scam. NFTs, it's ridiculous. You got to look at supply, and if you're going to invest in NFTs, I would invest in baseball cards and basketball cards. That's it. Metaverse. The problem with Metaverse is that you get dizzy. Like 40% of people that try VR headsets report motion sickness, and even the United States, the Army spent $20 billion on a contract with Facebook to license Oculus for military training. And 80% of people in the military that use the Oculus product reported getting motion sickness. Right. So I think if anybody's going to figure out this motion sickness issue, it's going to be Apple at a higher pricing point, of course. And of course, we all know that early next year, their VR headset thing comes out. Yeah. But in terms of AI, AI is the real deal. ChatGPT is a game changer. There's a hell of a lot of problems with ChatGPT and with AI. But it's definitely the future. And I haven't seen Silicon Valley or investors this excited about any technology since the internet was invented. Back in, first became commercially successful back in 94, 95 when Netscape went public. Yeah, I'm a believer in AI, which is why I created that complete artificial intelligence course with Luca Anderson as well. And this book is included for free in that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Michael Jordan Elk. Oh my God, Michael, it's been a while, man. I hope that you and Rosemary are doing well. Michael was a student of mine back in 2019 in my MBA degree program. He's based in Trinidad. Great guy. I hope you're doing well. It's great to hear from you. And so it's funny, when I showed my mom my MBA program, which I started years ago, and she saw the first student, she saw Michael Jordan Elcock. She said, Michael Jordan's in your program. I was like, no, a better Michael Jordan Elcock. Yeah, MJE. But Michael wrote, hello, Chris. Congratulations on your ongoing accomplishments at McGill. Thank you in Rwanda. I appreciate that. And then he wrote, I haven't visited with you in a while, just busy. Please check your Audible gifts. Have an awesome day. Oh, thank you. If you sent that, God bless you. Thank you. I will check. Thank you. And if I miss any emails from anybody, I'm so sorry. I have 1.5 million students. I feel bad. Yeah, but it's great to see you, man. And Michael, if you want, go back to the MBA program that you purchased, and you'll see there's a ton of tech electives, like how to program in Excel, and also the complete AI course. Yeah, thank you. All right, and Carol wrote, thank you, Chris. See you later. I'll see you soon. And then Richus wrote, paired with FAFSA, I will. You are awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, guys, God bless you. If you're in my Silver MBA program, I'll see you today at 10 a.m. For our weekly 1-hour Zoom call. In order to get details on how to access the Zoom call for Silver MBA users, just go to the first lecture where you purchased the MBA program. The first lecture always has a link there. If you're in my Gold and Platinum MBA program, I will see you for our 2-hour weekly Zoom office hour starting at 11:20 Pacific time today. If I have one-on-ones with you in the Platinum program later this afternoon, looking forward to chatting with y'all. Last thing I'll say is for those of you in the Gold and Platinum Haroun MBA degree program, I'm looking forward to seeing you all in person this Saturday and Sunday here in the Bay Area. It's going to be amazing. So I'll tell you a little bit about the event. We start Saturday at 10:30. And the way to get access to all the details, if you want to attend or listen to the webcast, is just go to my website, harounmba.com, student login, and then just click here with your password. Okay. So we start at show up anytime between 10 and 11 on Saturday. Then the webcast, for those that can't make it, will start at 11 a.m. It's a graduation ceremony. It's going to be an hour and a half. Then we have lunch from Saj, one of my favorite restaurants. Zaid Ayub, the founder, is a good buddy of mine. And then we got a bunch of just networking events. Then we got dinner at 5:30 until whenever. And then on Sunday, we start at 9:30 a.m. at that hotel. And then I do 12 hours in a row of 30-minute one-on-ones. And I think every one-on-one has been taken with my Platinum students. All right, cool. All right. Oh, a couple more questions are just posted here. Income Stream wrote, hi, Chris. I found you after your billions breakdown. A1 work, my friend. I'm in media. Oh, thank you for that. No, I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun. And the final season of episode or season of Billions starts soon. Yeah, I guess I might have to vlog about that. Thank you. I had so much fun making that. Yeah. And then you wrote, I'm 29. I'm thinking about becoming a private investment analyst. I do not have any accredited experience degree, just keen observation. Would you have any advice or tips on executing? Yeah, you can check out my courses or other people make courses similar to mine online. Just to skill up quickly. What I also recommend is don't underestimate, the importance of networking. And you can go to my website and download my networking book. And in my MBA degree program, I teach how to network on steroids in the first semester. Yeah. Okay, guys. God bless everybody. Thank you. And I'll see you next week and every single week forever. Thank you. Take care. And I'm going to end this week with a video like I do every week. On an interview I licensed of Steve Jobs that will change your life. It's 1 minute. And I licensed this from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. Thank you and God bless.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it, that's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.